Hello, brains! Over the last couple of episodes, Eric Tivers has taught us that it's important to figure out how long things take us so that we can build a schedule that doesn't require cloning. But we're not done yet. This week, we take on the biggest, baddest hurdle of all, sticking to that schedule. Sticking to things is one of the hardest challenges for ADHD'ers. So I threw every possible problem I could think of at Eric, and spoiler alert, he handled it like a boss. Edward, roll the tape. Okay, so say I've kind of figured out how long things generally take me. I've created what seems like a reasonable schedule, and then I end up in hyper-focus mode and I want to make something take 10 hours instead of 5 hours. How do you break yourself out of hyper-focus mode, and what do you do if it's not done?
There's a strategy that I use that I call it leaving yourself a trail of crumbs. You write the last one or two things down that you just did, and what would be the next 1 to 2 things that you would do if you were to continue to work on it.
But wait, isn't hyperfocus our superpower? Why would we even want to break out of it? The truth is, it can be a superpower, and there are plenty of times when I take advantage of it, but it does come at a cost.
When we go into hyperfocus, it's sort of like driving to the grocery store and every red light, when it turns green, we floor it. We're gonna deplete our fuel much more quickly. So if you feel you really need this really prolonged stretch of hyperfocus, then you have to plan longer for breaks. You have to spend longer to recuperate.
What do I do when I don't want to do what's on my schedule?
Tell somebody. Tell somebody right away.
Oh, so create some accountability, essentially?
Yes. If you want to be successful and not feel like you're selling your soul by having to stay up crazy hours all day long where you're constantly overwhelmed, you sometimes have to do things that you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. That's where accountability is really helpful. That's also why self-care is so important.
What if I'm supposed to sit down and edit, but then I have a really great idea for the next episode, so I want to go work on that instead?
Use the parking lot. Idea where you have a place where you quickly jot an idea and then you get back to what you're working on.
Is there ever a time when it's a good idea to kind of like, I've heard the term ride the wave, go, oh, okay, I actually would really like to file everything right now and I don't normally want to do that. Should I take advantage of that, or is it better to stick to your schedule?
There's no answer I could say it's never good to do that or it's always good to do this. So it's so much of it is contextual, but once you get more comfortable with planning and you learn to actually begin to trust your calendar, one of the things you can do is say, oh, this is such a really good idea. Let me check my calendar. Let me look at the next few days to see, can I actually do this? Because this thing that I was just working on, it's due next week. Yeah, you know what? I can do this right now.
When I get really busy, that is when I do not check my schedule at all. I am in crisis mode. I just have to get things done.
I want you to write something down. Spending time planning will save you time that you could spend later.
How?
Because we're going to be backtracking and sometimes having to redo something. Oh my gosh, I have to stop right now because I have to work on this. I was supposed to be working on this and I forgot about it. Now, how much time is it going to actually take you to figure out where you left off on that other project? And you do it, and then you're up till 3 a.m, and then you're late to your next thing or exhausted, and the cycle continues.
And apparently, once you create your schedule, it's important to check in with it.
I look at your calendar and your to-do list as your GPS for what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. If you're driving somewhere, would you put your GPS in the trunk after you get the directions all set?
No, of course not. It would be a total waste of time to plug something into your GPS if you're not gonna use it. Oh, this explains a lot. Last question. I had somebody ask me, how do I deal with the lazy monster?
Okay, well, first of all, I think that lazy is a 4-letter word, and yes, it actually does have 4 letters, but you know what I mean. It's a shaming word. I think when you think about what you want to do and you're having thoughts about, oh, I really should do this thing, but you're not doing that thing, that's not lazy. That's executive dysfunction. And I think it's a really important distinction. So what you're talking about is our ability to use our willpower. So don't make willpower something you have to use. When I used to play video games at home, I have that real bad case of one more thing-itis. So it's like, all right, one more round. 3 hours later, I'm still asking for one more round. And it's like, that's executive dysfunction. That's break failure, right? So I say I want to play for 30 minutes. I would connect my Nintendo Wii to a lamp timer. I set my intention before I start. And now stopping, it's already done before I started. That's how I outsource willpower.
If that sounds a little too intense for you, there are other ways to outsource your willpower. Use a timed lockbox to lock up distractions like iPads and remote controls while you work. Set a timer and toss it across the room whenever you need a little extra motivation to get up off the couch. One of the ways I outsource my willpower is by using willpower.net, which one of the brains made. The website is free to use, but if you need a little extra motivation, you can pledge to pay a certain amount every day that you miss. I now meditate every day because it costs me $5 if I don't. Eric's other solution to trouble with willpower, you can actually strengthen it with self-care.
If you want to get more done, especially if it requires a lot of concentration, go to bed earlier. Don't stay up late. If you have a big, important day of focus ahead of you, spend some time exercising in the morning.
I know from experience, self-care is usually the first thing to go out the window when we're behind schedule. But that's how we get into this vicious cycle of staying up late because we're behind, having trouble getting stuff done the next day because we're exhausted, and then staying up late because we're behind again. It's also how everything gets totally thrown off when we get, say, an eye infection because we haven't been taking out our contacts at night. Some days, the ADHD wins. It's gonna happen. And when it does, get some sleep, make sure you eat something, and get back out there the next day. I'll be right there with you. That's it for this week. Eric was incredibly generous to come share some of his secrets with us. If you want more, you can check out his ADHD-friendly video series with 125 of his best strategies for getting your ADHD rewired. Links below. Also, I'll be doing an episode on dealing with distractions soon, since apparently I'm not the only one who has an issue with that. If you like this episode, subscribe. And if you love this episode and want to help me make more, consider donating to my Patreon page, like these brains did. Thank you to all my Patreon brains. You're the reason I was able to go to the CHAD conference and connect with Eric and some of the other ADHD experts you'll be seeing on the show this year. You guys rock. Bye, brains. Question time. Did you put this on a playlist? Yeah, I'm not the best about making playlists. Luckily, our super moderator, Superbrain, is. Subscribe to her channel for all kinds of how-to ADHD playlists. However, I did make a special time management playlist that covers all the different things that tend to throw us off schedule. Did I mention perfectionism?